Hello everyone, and welcome to Table Talks podcast, the show that brings people together. My name is Malika. I'm studying graphic design at DMUK, and I'm also the founder of the Red Press. And
Hello everyone, my name is Mariya, I'm also the graphic design student, and today our guests are John, Paul, and Ibrahim.
Ibrahem, yes, correct.
How will be comfortable for you to call you?
Yeah, feel free to call me John Paul. It's a pleasure to be with you, Malika and Mar. And please more call me just Ibrahim, so it can be easier for you.
Okay, so as we already mentioned, me and Masha were the founders of the Red Press, the students' newsletter that is recently been started going with published in DMUK.
Well done. I think before we turn on, I'd say it's interesting that as students you came up with this initiative, the Red Press, which is something that informs other students. We do commend the opportunity to also interact with this particular press releases that you do of our students. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. So in this episode of Table Talks, we're going to talk about generational differences in student life.
Yeah.
What?
Don't make me feel old. Come.
It's not good. I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But you can tell us about your greatest memories from your study life. Student life.
I think looking back, it seems a long time since I finished my undergraduate study. My background is business and management. I entered the university in 1999, and I graduated with a degree in 2003. So it's been a long time. So yes, it's quite it's quite a long time. So, Dr. Ibrahim. Yes, well, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my experience and what's the most memorable things that happened to me. I come from Libya originally, and from Libya. And then when I was at high school, in my final year, I basically scored one of the highest marks across the whole country. And as a result of this, I got a scholarship to do my undergraduate in the UK. And to be honest, I was a bit scared in terms of going alone. That was in 2006 because I was 18 years old. So I was indecisive, to be honest, because of a new culture, a new environment that I'll be dealing with, and English was not my even first language, which is quite difficult to be for me. So I spoke to my dad, and my dad, what he said, Abraham, remember, 1,000 journey always starts with one step. Okay, so you need to move forward. You need to take this opportunity. Okay, you will learn English, you will do a degree in second language that is not yours, and I'm sure you will be able to do it. So what I did was, I went to the UK in 2006 in September. I did my undergraduate, but before doing my undergraduate, I had to go through what we call it, a place called Chester, where I had to do my English training course. So I did an IELTS, like you guys here, because it's a second language. I did well in that course as well. So as a result of that, when I got my IELTS preparation, I got the score that has been required. I applied for Liverpool University, for Journalism University. I applied for accounting and finance. I did my accounting and finance, and I was planning to go home, but my dad again asked me to do master's degree. So I did the master's degree, and then I got the first as well for my whole group, and I then moved to do my PhD. And here we go, I am here. So I can't actually forget these memories. It's been a great experience to myself. And yeah, that's it. That's what happened exactly. I told you a little bit about my story, and that's what I do remember from my high school. I think Mariya and Malika, Ibrahim has mentioned something which is quite interesting. For me, I'm not sure what applies to you guys. One of the things he's pointed out is the role our families, our parents make in our career decisions. For me, I recall vividly when I got a chance to choose or make a decision with the courses. I got an admission in economics, but my dad, I've always been enthusiastic about business and enterprise. So and I'm saying this because growing up, my dad tried so many entrepreneurial ventures. He's late now, bless and rest his soul. He is, I think sometimes people ask me, why do you choose to work in academia? My dad retired as a professor in phonetics, linguistics, and languages. And
so you would like to keep going to see
I think it's quite different because looking at him while he was working full-time in academia, he tried to set up businesses. I recall 4 different businesses that failed. I would say failed because now reflecting back, I know exactly he didn't really do what I usually tell students or aspiring entrepreneurs now. For example, understanding the industry or what. This brings me back to where I started. The role our families do play when it comes to the choice of a career. He said, well, economics would narrow your scope. So for my students who are currently doing a degree in business and management or business and marketing, I feel very privileged to also broaden or play a part in broadening the scope of their knowledge. The reason is because by doing business and management, I'm not trying to trump the course now. For some of our students who might also be doing other narrow courses, but it gives you a broad scope. And looking back, it's something that I don't know whether that applies to you, Malika, as well. Whether your families played a very crucial role in the choice, for example, to study at DMUK or the decision to study the current courses that you are doing. For me, my family played a very crucial role, in this case, my dad. And I also looked at the experiences that we had as a family where significant resources were put in a business, the business didn't thrive, and that's sort of influenced the passion to make sure that I understand enterprise, understand business, hence the career decision. Dr. Ibrahim mentioned something with regards to a memorable experience. I'll still say, in school, it's been a long time, Ibrahim, so don't mind me. Because when he was going into school, I had already finished something. So it's quite a generation. Maybe, in quotes, I do represent the old order. Ibrahim comes in the middle, and then exactly where's after here. Correct. So I think for me, memorably, I enjoyed school. I wouldn't say I was a star student, but I was always in the top 5 within my grades. That's interesting. The reason is I took part in internships. I worked while I was studying, which was something, if you think of the son of a professor, my dad wanted that formal self-directed learning, which I think, maybe from my observations of our students currently at DMUK, there's this informal self-directed learning, and I'm sure that might also apply to you, Malika, from the course you're studying, as well as some of our students at DMUK. So for me, it's I enjoyed school. I was part of the Students' Union, but I did not contest for posts. But I was very strategic with the services I rendered to the university. So my first degree was in Nigeria, where I was born, and that's where I come from originally. And that's one of the memories I do have, especially with current students' unit. And for me, maybe that could also come out in the passionate way I supported all our candidates here at DMUK, because I think there's a lot. Generationally, not much has changed, to be honest with you, because I remember working closely with the Student Union president. Then we had advisors, so strategic people who advised the Student Union president, so we could identify projects that would benefit our students. And I've looked at some of the publications in the red press. It's also good to showcase you're doing the same thing, but then I'll be honest with you, we didn't have these regular journals coming out or articles coming out. So I think there's also quite a difference. It will surprise you. When I went to school, there was nothing like Amazon. I don't know. Have you heard of Yahoo Messenger chats?
Yes.
So MSN. Yeah. I grew up with MSN. I grew up with Yahoo Messenger chat, but now
It's totally different, right?
it's totally different. Well, I do also engage with those kind of social media platforms. Say,
So are you still using these actually social medias? For example, Yahoo, and
Is it still existing?
yes, my Yahoo account, I recall very well. Then you didn't have data easily accessible on the internet. Accessible. I went to a cyber cafe, and then that was when I opened my Yahoo account as far back as 1999, and I still use that account.
Really?
So it's if you think of the mobile telephone, I used Nokia 3310, where you had it was on button. So I'm not sure if you come across such.
Of course, we had it like our first phones, of course.
Yeah. Do you remember the Samsung VOG?
Yes, of course. I've had it when I was like a little kid, I think in 5th grade or something like that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Ibrahem, what about?
exactly the same. I could kind of some of your generation as well, and not much different. So again, just to express that I have graduated in 2016. I got my PhD, so it's not that far. I continued my studies from undergraduate, master's, and PhD straight away. So I am kind of in the middle between Dr. Joe and you guys. Yeah, but we are close in terms of the same technology we have used. So I used Yahoo, I used Messenger as well at that time. Facebook, first, and so Instagram or social media was not really existing at that time.
Can I ask you, when did you open your Facebook account?
Oh my goodness, that was in 2009, I think.
And you?
10.
We don't have basic devices.
I cannot only for like I don't know for something.
Yeah, I think the reason why we could have on Facebook is just to log into some video games or like I don't know.
So
Just-
you could see the difference, Ibrahem.
Exactly.
Quite distinct. I had my Facebook account in 2008, 2009, and look at this. The whole Facebook. No, Facebook.
We have something better. We have Instagram.
Yes. Actually,
Are you on Instagram?
Yes, at the moment, yes. So I'm trying to catch up between the old generation and this generation. So I'm in the middle.
It's. I have an Instagram account, Facebook account, LinkedIn account, Twitter account. Well, guess what? I rarely tweet. At least.
But
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
and biggest question is, do you have a TikTok account?
yeah, true.
I'll be honest with you, hands up, no.
Why though?
Well, Ibrahem, what's your perception of TikTok?
I'll be frank with you, I don't use it as well, although I have account. But the thing is, we don't have time to be honest with this because we have a lot of work in place. I do have account, but I don't usually use it.
So if you ask me what I've observed, so you guys have an active account. Ibrahem has an account, but it's not active. I don't even have a TikTok account.
It's fine.
So it's the question is, which might also feed into some of your experiences, maybe with us as teachers. I don't know if my students will perceive me as being more traditional. For example, with regards to my education, we went to uni where you had a formal kind of a structured learning. And then also in class now, for example, here at DMUK. DMUK is cool. Our lecture halls are set in the way that is very dynamic and interactive, which for me as an academic, I have with training, learning, and regular staff development, I have more or less found myself attuned to that generational difference. But I think it's something it's worth mentioning that when I went to uni, it was quite formal. There were no, for example, for me, I'm cool with students coming in into the class, using their laptops, typing up notes. For me, I still have records of my lecture notes, which I found also very helpful. Reasons, for example, I said this, I'm not the top, but I was a star student. And students who were my colleagues in class would always refer to my notes because they felt John Paul is always taking notes. So let's actually check what is he writing. I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, my writing is not the best. But because they knew I noted things that were maybe helpful or vital, that's something that I still find conventional. That's your generation, the students here at DMUK. They do use an iPad, they use their computers. Believe me, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Ibrahim, I don't know what your experience with that is.
But exactly the same thing, to be honest, as I have mentioned before. I do have a TikTok account, but I don't use it because of the work that I have, to be honest, because I have priorities. I need to finish them first. But I'll be frankly with you, sometimes I steal some, like for example, say 10 to 15 minutes to check what's happening with TikTok, clear, if I'm not really active in that. Yeah. So can you please tell me about what do you think, what's the most challenging thing in a student's life as a student?
Well,
Silence.
where should we start?
Yeah. A lot of points. Like for me, it's deadline assignments because I like to procrastinate. I'm doing everything in the last moment. This is my problem. I have to fight with it. But now it's the most challenging, I guess.
Yeah, I think I can agree on that one. I mean, everyone procrastinates. If you will say to us that you always did everything on time, I will not believe it. Because everyone procrastinates. And well, on top of that, I think finding time to like just hang out with your friends is quite difficult also, because the world is moving so fast and everything changes so drastically. Like we have our red press thing, we have assignments, a lot of stuff we need to do, and we just sometimes don't have time for ourselves.
Yeah.
Is this something that you faced when you were students as well?
Well, I'll be frank with you, I want to start. No, you okay, well, I'll don't expect you to Okay, I'll be frank with you. I was a good student, to be honest, because I have, as I have explained already, English was not my first language. So I had to make sure that, whatever the tutor or the lecturer release the assessment, especially the coursework, I tend to start early. Okay, if you start early, you shouldn't be struggling, because for instance, at the DMUK here, what we do is we normally release our assessment in the first few weeks. And if you really think about the time management skills, I don't know whether you had been actually covered this in the employability skills module, because I'm being charged in teaching this module. Time management is very important. If you start early, what we call it, drawing up lines, instruction what you are going to be, you should not be struggling in terms of time management, because we tend usually to send the assignments and release them in advance, maybe 5 to 6 weeks time. Okay, which gives you the opportunity to go back to the module what you have covered in terms of lectures, what are being required in terms of the assessment, what is the title for the assignment, and if you are really working in advance, you should meet the deadline. But unfortunately, the way students have, and I have experience in this when I was doing my undergraduate, the students leave their minute and then work to the last minute. When they leave it to the last minute, they tend to struggle in terms of the meeting, the deadline, and they will start asking for extensions. They will come up with different excuses.
Oh, it's not about us.
Yeah, I'm just talking in general. So I think the best thing to do is whenever you've been asked, whenever the assessment is being released, I would advise you to take a step forward and start your work straight away, because you will have the opportunity to ask your tutor, to ask your lecturer in terms of guidelines, because trust me, if you are doing your work in the last minute, sometimes you will not expecting to have a good marks. Okay, but if you start planning in advance of how to do your assignment and what is being required, highlighting the keywords in the question, then you should be able to meet the deadline. What do you think, John?
I think for me, it's quite a big contrast with my experiences, because as I told you, I had the chance to work while I was studying. And also, this is where I see the value in practical experience. as well as academic experience. I wouldn't come here to say I came out with the first class. I didn't come out with the first class. But I have a very good practical experience that made a difference in the world of work. And this is one of the things I do, maybe from my own lens of experiences. That's why I try to inform students or signpost students about this. For example, here at DMUK, we do have the internship scheme, and it's something I would always champion. I would always push for the internship scheme. Reason is, in terms of deadlines, some of the experiences you do have, well, I'll tell you, during my study days, we had no deferrals. It wasn't very obvious because no student would want to think of a deferral. So it was a standard practice that the term starts on this date, and this is when your submissions are due, and this is when you have to submit. Extenuating circumstances, yes, it was permissible, but the notion of deferrals wasn't quite the norm. So with regards to time management, yes, it's something for me. I always work with the deadlines, and that was something I picked working in the industry, where everything has to be there on time. There's always deadlines with regards to, for example, my experience was in the logistics and transport sector. And for example, a truck cannot move. Any delay to the truck has a financial impact on the company. It has a financial impact on the buyer, and it could also have contractual implications as well. So that was something that I learned quickly. And with my work, because I had to work 2 days, sometimes 3 days in the week, my weekends were very particular. So I do agree with you. Sometimes being a student might also mean compromising with your leisure time. But for me, my downtimes or holidays are very important. Reason because it's the chance to feel like a child, feel like an individual, and have fun. So my advice with which is looking at what your challenges might also be, would be keep your eyes on the ball for 12 weeks and then enjoy the holidays.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, correct. Try.
Okay, then can I ask you another question? What's something you have learned over this semester? Now we are getting closer to the semester finishing. So we are finishing this week, hopefully. We've got one extra week, which is revision week. So what have you learned so far over the semester?
Clever style referencing.
Clever style. Oh my god, this one I will remember for all my life. Yeah, where to put dots, where to put the commas, and
Whatever the italic.
oh my god, this italic is nah.
It's a nightmare.
Yes.
Now, again, it's half referencing this process where it will be learned through our tube studies. And I think it's very important we have taken lessons in this because it will continue with you with the rest of your academic life. Whether you are going to do undergraduate, master's, and hopefully you will be doing the PhD in the future. So it's very important that you learn the process of how to reference the work that is already being done by other scholars. Sure. So yeah, it's very important, and I'm quite happy that, at least hopefully you get some of it at this stage.
Yes.
Can I ask you, Mariya, you guys are doing some work where you have to do some external research, probably secondary research, connected secondary data or desktop data. So how has this program helped you, for example, some of the takeaways from this term, which you've mentioned, for example, the use of Harvard referencing, which means you should be able to know how to connect credible information, which you would share in our red press. So how has that helped you, Malika, Mariya? What's your thought on that?
I think it's helped us with finding the references that are relative,
Relevant.
authoritative, and by this crab system, it's like very nice. Crab system is fine, and it's really important now to find the relevant topic for everything, for design, for red press, which Malika is writing. So I think it's important for all life to not be mistaken by something, because you just didn't read something or you didn't know about it.
Yeah. Malika, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, with Mariya on that one, the crop analysis that we all love and enjoy helps us to find relevant.
Because that's quite relative.
Okay, so yes, it helps us a lot with information that we will find, especially considering that Red Press is coming out each week.
Yeah.
And we work on our weekends on this, like finding the information that is going to be interesting for students to read, and that will be relevant. Yes.
Yeah. So when you talk about something being there, that means it's okay. It's okay. And the other thing I would ask you is, so far with the experience, you've mentioned the challenge that comes with looking for this information that is relevant and credible. Do you think that you've developed some skills that you can apply to your program or at the end of your program here?
For our design, for example, we already are doing research for all our projects. We had a project called the packaging design, and we had to make a research about the person who are we doing this packaging for. We searched through the internet, and we needed to find also the topics that are relevant and that we yes, and also we're doing presentations.
Yep.
It was so truly like the very important thing to know how to do.
Yeah, and I would add to that, because in real life, in the world of work, you can't do without information. Sometimes this information is released by professional bodies. For example, let's pretend in one of the modules I teach that has to do with finance, all these and global financial markets, essentially. Our students got to know the importance of the central bank. For example, here in Kazakhstan, you have the National Bank of Kazakhstan, and most students, for some reason, did not recognize the importance of credible information. They talk of market data, they talk of statistics. So it's impressed to see that you've also developed that skill to source for resources that are relevant and credible. So it draws it on how to warm into it. For me, I think one of the things I could pick from this is something that it's the joys of being a student. I recall, and that is opportunity. Believe me, being a student provides you with a lot of opportunities, and these opportunities sometimes happen per chance. I recall even the internship I told you I did, a single classmate came to me and said, John Paul, my mom needs somebody to work with her. And for me, I think it was a welcome distraction, because I knew her mom to be a successful businesswoman. It was something that I found as a way to also apply some of the things our lecturers used to tell us then in class, so to really see how it works in practice. So yes, being a student, I still believe this is a case of being at the right place at the right time, and an opportunity came. And I still believe that you never can tell. By the time you complete your program, you could end up becoming, now we have soft or digital newspapers that are easily accessible on demand. Who knows? You guys could take this as far as possible. But I think there's so many transferable skills I can see for what you're doing. You talk of organizational skills. We talk about your research skills. We talk of your critical thinking skills. You should be able to identify the relevant materials, check how credible it is, think of the topical or trending conversations going on. So believe me, I would say thumbs up to both of you. It's something that it reminds me there are not so much generational differences, if I would say. The opportunity would always be there as a student. You see people being willing to share and that's my experience working. I ended up with the company when I did my second internship. I ended up managing a fleet of trucks for a transport company at that age. I think that's one of the things that, looking at my career history and experience, I've always thrived in management. So it's important. You don't take this for granted. For us as well, and for me, it's an honor to be part of the conversation that we're having today. But go for it. That's all I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, John Paul, what do you think? What advice you have been given? The best advice you have been given while you were a student, and what advice would you give to those students and inspire them?
Okay, so for me, Mariya, Malika, I would say I'll leave you with three things. The first is choose your friends wisely. The reason is if I wasn't in the right network of friendships or friends, I wouldn't have been able to be signposted to the opportunity that I had. That's one thing. Remember, you're a student. Wear that hat at all times. Whenever you step within the premises of the university, as a student, you'll always be an ambassador to the university, an ambassador to your families, and the people who know you. And the final thing I'll leave you with would be never give up. The challenge is real. Yeah, the challenge is real. I know a few friends back there who gave up. But the notion of not giving up, it's very important because this cuts across your personal space, this cuts across your career aspirations, this cuts across how you define what you actually want to be. So with these three things, I think I'll leave that to you. So we still remember what I said. What are the three things?
Never give up.
Yeah.
Choose your friends correctly.
Yeah.
You're a student.
You're a student.
That's it. That's clear.
Yeah.
So these are the key three things. The three things I would always leave my students with. And I believe, Dr. Ibrahim, I'm not sure what your thoughts are, but I believe these three things resonate across the generation. That's I studied as part of I would classify myself as a millennial, and I met the digital transformation that we're living in. But I don't know whether these three things resonate with you with that.
Well, I would say my best advice that I've received is from my dad when he said, a 1,000 journey starts with one step. So I think I would say the same to you guys. Never ever give up. Believe in yourself. A dream remains dream until you take action. And I think you have already taken action by joining the DMUK Senior, which is the first step from the 1,000 mile journey. And I am sure that you'll be able to do it. Don't get scared. You will make mistakes at some point, but the person who will be successful, he will take these mistakes into account and learn from his or her mistakes. And again, do believe in yourself. You have the capability, you have the skills, you have the knowledge. And you're really lucky. You have a British education system here in Kazakhstan, so you're quite close to your family. Not like that at the time when I had to travel almost 10 hours to do my undergraduate down there. So again, believe in yourself, and I'm sure you'll be able to do it. Okay?
Thanks very much.
Mariya, can I ask you, do you think there's a generational difference between us in terms of this learning experience?
I think yes.
I don't have TikTok.
No, actually, yes. You grew up with a different music, different different books. But everything was different. You didn't have this amount of information as we now have.
That's correct.
But maybe we are not like different in. I don't know how to say it. How to say? How to say what?
What she was talking about.
The experiences of being a student is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
But wants to say something. Yeah, I think what she means is that we all like humans. We all have the same experience and the same life paths. But the thing is that the journey that we make from the coming to the university and graduating it is a bit different from the journey that you had.
Yeah.
But the outcome is going to be the same anyways. Yeah.
Can I add just one piece of advice to you guys? Always think about doing what is right and forget about what is easy. Because what is right, you will learn a lot rather than going straight away to do something that is really easy. So please put this in your mind. This is a piece of advice, and hopefully you remember this once you are about to graduate.
Can I ask you, did you use Google when you studied?
Yes, I did.
Well, I never used Google when I studied. The library was always my friend.
Okay.
Yes. For me, I would always encourage the use of the library. Now we have the virtual or digital space where you can always access your books online. I think it's something that when I look back, I think I studied at a different time when there was no Google, there was no Google Scholar. So it's something that I would take away from this conversation and reflect deeply that I think I'm getting older. Thank you. Yes.
I have a question to Ibrahim. Like you said, do what is right and not what is easy, right?
Okay, yes.
What is the easy, right? Can you please do that?
Maybe Jean-Paul, can you explain about this?
I think for me, doing what is easy from a student's perspective would mean simply going onto the internet, copying and pasting, and something to on it.
Absolutely correct.
But doing what is right would mean some of the things would take in, you organize yourself. You know, you have 12 weeks of being a student in the term. You will take time to identify the resources. It takes a lot of work, and it's a skill that would never leave you. That's I think what gonna be.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, can I add something? So what do I mean by what is right? For instance, if we take into account the half difference in the style, and you usually get asked by your lecturer or tutor to do a specific piece of work, maybe 1,000 words, 1,500 words, and you have to, in order to get that assessment correct, you need to go through different sources, different materials. You have to reference them in the right way according to half a referencing style that what we're using at DMUK. However, what is easy, we can go to the internet straight away, copy paste, and then you submit your work and you'll be in trouble. Simple, yeah. So you can be caught by, the
Okay.
So that's what I mean by do the right thing, not go for the easy thing.
Another thing I'll tell you is have fun. I had fun. I went with friends to outdoor places like the beach. We had, for example, that days someone asks you to come out for a meal, and there's nothing wrong with that. I will always remember it's also a different kind of meal. So always find time for
Balancing between the social life and your education.
To try.
yes.
Very hard to do actually without training time management.
Yeah.
But
Remember, we are here to help, and we have twice hours in our office. Please do use them, and they are very important. We can provide feedback, whatever you want, and we are always here to help. Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you. And it's once again, it's an honor to be here with you, and I wish you all the best, as I wish any other students here at DMUK. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. It was a very full conversation. So
Yeah, thank you for watching Table Talks podcast. Subscribe to DMUK's YouTube channel, to our TikTok.
And so I'll get it.
And then
I always keep my eye on that.
also please join our Telegram channel of Red Press. I'm promoting myself here on this one a little bit. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I called you.